Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review. Today we're going to be reviewing this 2023 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Before we even get into today's review, I do have to give a quick shout out to Sansone, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram on Route 1 North in Avenel, New Jersey. They're letting me take this off their lot today. I've worked with Sansone plenty of times in the past and I can only say good things. Unfortunately though, in today's video, they only really have the base models. So we'll get into the main difference between the 2023 base model versus all the other Wagoneers or Grand Wagoneers for that matter. The main difference is the engine, but we'll talk about that in a bit. If you've been subscribed to my channel, you do know that I'm a huge automotive history nerd. I absolutely love it. And the fact that this nameplate was actually used between the 1963 to 1993 model years, and then for this new generation, it was actually reintroduced again in the 2023 model year. I think it's awesome that they're bringing back this nameplate, and they're doing it in a very, very classy and sophisticated manner, let's put it that way. The main competition on the domestic market for these new Wagoneers are going to be like your Navigators, your Suburbans, things of that nature, even like the Cadillac ESVs. And talking about the design and just the overall exterior of this new Grand Wagoneer, some people that I've seen on the internet have kind of bashed it because it looks kind of plain and boxy. But I truly do think it stays true to its Jeep heritage, especially when you go in that front and you see that front grille. Like, there's no doubting that this thing is a Jeep when you see it on the road. And honestly, I really, really love that. Especially when comparing it to the looks of like the old Wagoneers. I think that's great that Jeep didn't try to make it something that it's not. Like, at the end of the day, it's still a Jeep. And this one in particular is finished off with the Midnight Sky color from factory with the global black interior. Now, I do have to say, for this particular year of the Grand Wagoneers, I believe there was 3 total interior trim options. And I do really, really love, like, my favorite is the Tupelo, I think that I'm pronouncing it right, but it's the Tupelo interior. And it's essentially like a lighter tan interior, almost like a baseball glove leather look. It's actually, if I remember correctly, because I saw one at the 2022 New York Auto Show, and it's essentially like kind of the same color as the brim of my hat that I'm wearing right now. And it just looks absolutely spectacular. When you're in it, it's like you don't even want to sit in it because you don't want to get it dirty at all. And I really do love that Jeep did so well designing this new Wagoneer, because Jeep is one of your probably like most patriotic like American brands, and they can trace their origin all the way back to the Second World War. And although they are widely known for their Wranglers worldwide and being like kind of like a more affordable brand, they now truly have a top of the line luxury family hauler masterpiece that is offered as a main competitor to other luxury SUVs worldwide, which I think is great. And speaking about Jeep's heritage and like their basically role in the American military during the Second World War, one little subtle detail that I absolutely love when just kind of doing the B-roll for this Grand Wagoneer. If you look on the driver's side front door, you have the Grand Wagoneer basically down below, and then you also have a little American flag. However, if you look at it on the passenger side, the American flag is actually inverted. Now, that's not obviously disrespecting the flag or anything, but if you don't know the history behind that, if you look at America's military uniforms, specifically like the newer military uniforms, if the soldiers, I think, have a patch, I don't know if it's, I guess it would be on the right side if for it to be inverted, but essentially that is the same design. Like, the American flag is inverted on the soldiers' uniforms. So I think that's a very subtle, cool callback to the origins of Jeep, their role in World War II and America's production during World War II. And I think that that's freaking really cool that they like put that in there. I don't know if it's the same on like the Cherokees, if the Cherokees even have an American flag, or the Wranglers do, or anything like that. I'm honestly quite not sure, because I haven't really seen that on the other Jeep models just off the top of my head. But just my personality, like, I'm kind of a bit of a nerd with automotive history, at least on this channel, and I won't really talk about it on this channel because it's a car channel, but I'm a huge nerd when it comes to military history, really around the world. And me being American, I love learning about this country's history, so I think that that little callback is such a cool, like, little detail. Also, another very minute, small detail, and I tried to do a B-roll shot of it, but I don't know if the camera's gonna really work out with it, but inside the taillight housing, you get like this little like engraved Jeep logo in there. Again, I don't know if the B-roll and the camera's really going to pick it up because it was very sunny out, but I think that is really, really neat. Also, when talking about like the parking and safety of this new Grand Wagoneer, if you look on the front of it and if you look closely, you can actually see 4 parking sensors in the front, and they're hidden extremely well with the design of the front grille. Again, the grille, it kind of symbolizes the Jeep's kind of personality and callback to the brand. So you don't want to have basically just like overbearing parking sensors, especially on something that costs 6 figures, where, you know, people are trying to have a more luxurious experience with it. But they hid them very, very well. And also, when I was parking this absolute tank, and this isn't even the L, by the way, which we'll get to in a bit, this is the regular Grand Wagoneer, but as I was parking it, you do have that eagle eye camera view, as well as like the backup camera when you are in reverse. And then even on the screen in front of you, which has your digital tachometer and digital speedometer, you get this like little sensor, and it actually tells you the exact distance of pretty much how far back you are with little increments. And I think that's really cool. Also, when you are in the eagle eye view, when you're in reverse, if you turn the wheel, it'll actually show you the lines, like it'll show you your turning radius, which, you know, in this Grand Wagoneer, it's definitely very hefty. It's not even the L, but it's very hard to kind of maneuver around in small spaces. So I think that that's definitely pretty useful. And obviously it's not a feature that's extremely innovative or anything. We've seen that with other models before, but I do think that's another cool like little detail that helps out the driver and makes this new Grand Wagoneer very, very user friendly. Now, moving on to the engine for this 2023 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Again, as I mentioned before, it is the base model. So unfortunately, we do have that 6.2 liter overhead valve, kind of dinosaur V8, you know, single cam. I mean, there's not much to talk about with this engine. It does make 471 horsepower at 6,000 RPMs and 455 foot-pounds of torque at 4,400 RPMs. However, the one that I saw at the New York Auto Show, and pretty much every single trim except this one, and even the base models for the 2024 year, they're all going to be coming with the new twin turbo Hurricane engine. And it's essentially a twin turbo 3 liter double overhead cam 4 valve per cylinder inline 6 engine. It makes 510 horsepower at 5,700 RPMs and an even 500 foot-pounds of torque at 3,500 RPMs. So it has a very, very even power curve from the low end to the top end. And I think that's mainly because of the factory tune. I'm sure that you could probably open up that top end a little bit more with an aftermarket tune. But again, it's a Grand Wagoneer. People are buying this for luxury, not necessarily performance. And I do really love the fact that they decided to, you know, eventually put that inline 6 in all of the Grand Wagoneers, all of the different trims, simply because you do get a tad bit more smoothness in the driving experience when you're driving like something with an inline engine versus that V platform. And although it's barely noticeable to like your average everyday consumer, that is definitely something that I can appreciate. And again, unfortunately, this Grand Wagoneer doesn't have that engine. I wish I could get it for you guys. Hopefully I can do another one in the future that has that new Hurricane engine in it. But moving on, basically all the Grand Wagoneers, doesn't matter if they come with this V8 or the Hurricane engine, which most of them come with, they are all 4-wheel drive. So essentially they're pretty much like driving a truck when you really break it down. And also they do all come with an 8-speed shiftable automatic transmission. And I know very little people are going to be concerned with miles per gallon when you're buying something like this, but the Hurricane engine actually does get you 14 miles per gallon during city driving and 20 miles per gallon during highway driving for a combined average of 17. And surprisingly, this V8 is actually not that much worse. It averages around 13 miles per gallon during city driving and 18 miles per gallon during highway driving for a combined average of 15 miles per gallon. And as far as the towing's concerned, pretty much for both models, whether they have the V8 or the inline 6, they're basically rated for right around 9,800 pounds. So I mean, hey, it's kind of perfect if you want to be like a complete baller and hook up your $50,000 fishing boat setup to your $100,000 Jeep and drive down the highway and flex on everybody.
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around.
But obviously, I don't think that unless you make crazy money, you're not going to be doing any like real work with this you know, Grand Wagoneer. I mean, maybe hauling some stuff back and forth to Home Depot for some home projects, but besides that, it's not like a commercial truck or anything like that. Grand Wagoneer also does have a wheelbase of 123 inches, and so basically it's 10 feet and 3 inches for the wheelbase. I believe for the L, the wheelbase is actually the same. I could be wrong, but I think the wheelbase is the same, except it's actually extended a foot in the rear. So the body is extended a little bit, and you definitely do see that in the cargo space. Just looking at this regular Grand Wagoneer, I mean, I'm 6 foot even and about 205 pounds. And while I was doing the B-roll, I actually sat all the way back in the 3rd row of seating, and I had plenty of room. However, it does take away a bit of the trunk space. When that 3rd row seating is up, you don't have that much cargo space all the way in the back. But with these captain seats in the front, as well as like the captain seats in the 2nd row, I was very, very comfortable. Also in the 2nd row, you do have your own like individual little screens, which I'm sure you can hook up to some sort of media. And also you do have another screen that actually controls the rear climate settings. This luxurious tank offered by Jeep also does have a curb weight, basically right around 6,400 pounds. However, it doesn't really feel extremely like bulky or whatever to drive. Like, it flows very, very nicely. The handling is great, and I mean, yes, you're driving something that's 6,400 pounds, but it brakes rather quickly for its size. It doesn't accelerate that quick, obviously, but as far as daily drivability is concerned, I don't think like your normal driver is really going to have a problem operating one of these. This Grand Wagoneer is actually the first Jeep to reach an over $100,000 MSRP from the factory. Besides, like, I mean, I guess you can probably buy a Trackhawk for over 100 grand, but even those I don't even think had their MSRP over that 6-figure mark. So this is an entirely different realm for Jeep, which I really love, because it tells me that there's definitely going to be new things that are coming in the future for Jeep as a brand. And also, this base 2023 does have factory 20-inch wheels on it. I really don't like the wheel design for this specific Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I do really like the 22-inch wheels that come with like the Obsidian trims, but again, that's like your higher top of the line trim. But now that we kind of ran through the specs and the other topics of this Grand Wagoneer, I kind of wanted to talk about the interior for quite some time in this video, because oh my god, this interior is second to none. I absolutely love all the different options that it has. If you've been subscribed to my channel, you know typically I don't really care about interiors that much. I don't care about the features, but this thing makes you feel like you're someone important while driving it. It just feels amazing, and it's mind-blowing that this is a Jeep. And also with the Grand Wagoneer, that is where this kind of shines versus the normal Wagoneer. It's all the different features and crap included with it, because the Wagoneer, I believe, the regular Wagoneer, you can get, I think, the Wagoneer and then the Wagoneer L. So the size doesn't really matter when you're going from the Grand Wagoneer to the regular Wagoneer. But in this Grand Wagoneer, you have just, it's loaded with interior options. And again, this is a freaking base trim. You have this huge infotainment system where you have your home, media, climate control, navigation, phone, and then you can go into this like vehicle setting, and it launches this off-road page that you can actually go into from the vehicle setting. And I think that's so damn cool. You could lock up the transfer case, you could see your actual pitch and degree, you can even see your exact coordinates and altitude, which to me, that is so damn cool. Yes, I know the normal person is not really going to use this, and the normal person is not going to off-road something like this, but to me, that's just another little feature that highlights how Jeep really emphasize their tradition, their heritage of making, you know, your off-road vehicles, your Wranglers, things of that nature, and basically put these features in this new Grand Wagoneer and basically said, hey, like, at the end of the day, this is a huge luxury SUV, full-size luxury SUV, but if you wanted to go off-roading with it, and if you could afford to go off-roading with it, then by all means, go ahead, beat it up, like drive it for what it's meant to be. I think that's so cool that they did that. And also underneath the main infotainment screen, you have this kind of more slimmer infotainment screen. And when you actually press a button all the way on the left, it actually goes up. You basically have multiple different USBs, and then an HDMI port, which I believe is for, yeah, it's for the passenger, and that can all be hidden by that lower screen. Now, I do have to say, one thing I don't like about that is that button, as well as all the other buttons down below with it, besides pretty much the hazards, they're not like your traditional buttons where you press it down and you actually feel it go down. They're kind of like a weird sensor button, which I just don't really like the feel of it, because you don't know for sure if you're like it's actually activating or not for the most part. But now moving back from that, you have the gear selector right behind that. Pretty much it is that wheel gear selector. We see that a lot of times with modern new models. I don't like that as well. I would rather have a regular stick gear selector. But again, the main emphasis of this Grand Wagoneer is to be luxurious, and the general public does, I feel like that dial. Again, I don't really like it, but the general public does, and that's who Jeep is marketing this new Grand Wagoneer to. Also, I love the wooden panel that can actually cover up the cup holders and the two separate kind of armrests. So if you have a passenger in here, both you and the passenger, there's plenty of room to kind of spread out, relax. And this is probably like the ultimate road trip machine as well, because I mean, the passenger could be occupied with their screen, which I'm assuming that links to whatever's plugged into the HDMI port, and then the passengers in the second row and the third row could be looking at those two screens back there and completely leave you alone as the driver. And for this 2023 Grand Wagoneer, you actually do have 5 different trim levels. So you have the base, which starts right around 88,000 US dollars, and then the Series 2, which starts at like 95,000 US dollars, the Series 2 Obsidian, which is basically the first one to go over that $100,000 mark, and then the Series 3, which is at like 108, and then the Series 3 Obsidian, which is at 109. And just letting you know, that is the regular Grand Wagoneer trim MSRPs for this year, the 2023. That's not the L. The L's do cost more because they are extended for obvious reasons. But as far as like safety is concerned, it's got the most modern safety features from Jeep. And also with reliability, I do know I recently did a Grand Cherokee on the channel. I had to talk about that reliability a little bit because they are infamous for not being the most reliable models out there. So as far as reliability is concerned for this new Grand Wagoneer, I kind of have the same opinions as that Jeep Grand Cherokee that I did. I don't know if this is going to be the most reliable vehicle on the market, to be honest with you guys, because you know, Mopar or Stellantis, they haven't had a good recent track record, and there is so many damn features in this new Grand Wagoneer. I mean, this one literally has like 40 miles on the odometer. Anything that's new, I can't really speak on it too much, but I do have to say, if you're serious and you're in the market for buying one of these, just being as transparent as possible, I would recommend getting some opinions from people who are actual professional mechanics, and or maybe even Jeep techs. They work on these things for a living, so they would know more than someone like me or probably most of you guys. So just keep that in the back of your mind. That's definitely one kind of con, and I hate to end this video off on a negative light, because this Grand Wagoneer has completely blown me away today. I absolutely enjoyed my time driving it and filming it. I was thoroughly impressed, and the fact that this is literally just the first year of it being released, and a base trim at that, I cannot wait to see, you know, what they have in store for this Wagoneer in the future. I do know that for the regular Wagoneers, not the Grand ones, I know we talked about the prices, the regular ones kind of start in the 60s, I believe, and they're actually introducing later this year a Wagoneer S, which is a smaller sized Jeep Wagoneer, kind of like a mid-size SUV competitor almost. I don't know, there's not too much details on it out right now, but later in 2024 they should be like releasing the actual production model to the public. So anyways, if you stuck all the way to the end of this video, I know it was longer, but I wanted to kind of cover everything. Let me know down in the comments below if you like or dislike this new Grand Wagoneer. Also, while you're down there, definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. And also, again, I have to thank Sansone Auto Mall so much for letting me take this new Grand Wagoneer out today. It was an absolute blast driving and filming it for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed driving this new Grand Wagoneer. But anyways, that's pretty much just gonna be it. Like always, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.